Item Number: SCP-Y-022. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-Y-022 is to be housed in a standard humanoid containment cell at Site Y-1. The containment cell must be equipped with UV light fixtures to simulate daylight, and all windows must be fitted with blackout curtains to prevent moonlight from entering the room. SCP-Y-022 is to be provided with a diet consisting solely of garlic-infused food and water that has been blessed by a recognized religious authority. SCP-Y-022 is to be allowed access to designated outdoor areas during daytime hours only, under the supervision of armed guards equipped with UV lamps. Any prolonged eye contact between SCP-Y-022 and Foundation personnel is to be avoided whenever possible. Description: SCP-Y-022 is a humanoid male who claims to be a vampire hunter, cursed after an encounter with a powerful reality warper within Provisional Reality-Y-1. Despite exhibiting traits commonly associated with vampires, SCP-Y-022 expresses great discomfort and disdain toward his condition. SCP-Y-022 has expressed through interviews that he is well over 400 years old and believes that the only way for him to die is to consume the blood of the reality warper that turned him into a reverse vampire. SCP-Y-022's anomalous properties include daytime strength. SCP-Y-022 demonstrates enhanced physical capabilities during daylight hours, capable of lifting weights up to 3.5 tons. Moonlight sensitivity. Contact with moonlight causes severe burns to SCP-Y-022's flesh. Blood vomiting. SCP-Y-022 regurgitates large amounts of blood when hungry, experiencing a sense of fullness afterward. Dietary restrictions. SCP-Y-022 can only consume garlic-infused food and water that has been blessed by a religious authority. Charm effect. Prolonged eye contact with SCP-Y-022 induces a powerful charm effect, compelling SCP-Y-022 to serve the individual maintaining eye contact. This effect dissipates after a few minutes of separation. Intense desire to hunt reality warper. SCP-Y-022 has an intense, unwavering desire to find and kill the reality warper who transformed him, believing it is the only way to end his cursed existence. Sensory analysis of SCP-Y-022. SCP-Y-022 exhibits enhanced sensory capabilities far surpassing those of a normal human. These enhancements were discovered through a series of rigorous tests conducted by Site Y-1 researchers. The following sections provide a detailed analysis of SCP-Y-022's vision, hearing, smell, and other sensory abilities. Vision. SCP-Y-022's vision is highly acute, capable of perceiving a wider spectrum of light and detecting minute details at considerable distances. SCP-Y-022's eyesight was tested using a modified Snellen chart. He demonstrated the ability to read text as small as 1 millimeter in height from a distance of 100 meters. In darkness, his vision remains functional, akin to night vision capabilities found in some nocturnal animals. Tests in pitch-black environments revealed that he can navigate and identify objects with remarkable clarity. SCP-Y-022 can perceive ultraviolet and infrared light, allowing him to see a broader range of colors than the average human. This capability aids him in tracking and identifying hidden or camouflaged entities within Provisional Reality-Y-1. It seems that he can detect minute changes in his environment, such as slight movements, faint vibrations, and small texture variations, which enhances his combat and tracking abilities. Hearing. SCP-Y-022 can hear sounds ranging from 10 Hz to 60 kHz, far exceeding the typical human range of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. This includes infrasound and ultrasound frequencies. His ears can pinpoint the exact location of sound sources with great accuracy. During tests, he successfully identified the direction and distance of sounds originating from up to 2 kilometers away. SCP-Y-022 can selectively focus on specific sounds, filtering out background noise. This ability allows him to detect whispers, heartbeats, and other subtle auditory cues in noisy environments. In total darkness, he can produce and interpret echolocation clicks similar to those used by bats and dolphins. This aids in navigation and spatial awareness when visual input is limited. SCP-Y-022 can identify individual scent molecules at concentrations as low as 1 part per trillion. This sensitivity is comparable to that of bloodhounds. He can track scents over long distances and through complex environments. During tests, he accurately followed a scent trail laid out over 5 kilometers through varied terrain, including urban and natural settings. He also appears to have an exceptional memory for scents, allowing him to recognize and recall specific odors encountered in the past. This ability aids in identifying individuals, entities, and objects by their unique scent signatures. SCP-Y-022 can feel minute vibrations and temperature changes through his skin. He successfully identified temperature variations of less than 0.1 Celsius and detected vibrations as subtle as 0.01 millimeters. His fingers can discern fine textures and patterns on surfaces. Tests showed he could read Braille and identify intricate engravings on metal surfaces by touching distant parts of the object they are engraved on. Despite his heightened sense of touch, he has an unusually high pain threshold, likely a result of his unique cellular state and regenerative capabilities. Addendum Y-022-4, Interview Log. Interviewer Dr. Eleanor Harding. Interviewee SCP-Y-022. Date, July 18th, 2000. Begin log.
Good afternoon, Y-22. How are you feeling today?
Better than some days, worse than others. What do you want to know today, Doctor?
We would like to know more about your past. Let's start with your name and age.
My name is Gianni Mancini. I was born in Rome over 400 years ago.
That's quite a long lifespan. It must have been arduous. Can you tell me about your life in Rome?
I was part of a secret group of assassins called Angelus Mortis. We were orphans raised by the Vatican, trained from a young age to hunt creatures of the night. Vampires, ghouls, werewolves, monsters. The group was our family, our life.
The Vatican? Were they aware of this group?
Yes, the Vatican was deeply involved. The Pope was a public figurehead, but her real power lay with the Giosto, a respected man who operated behind the scenes. He controlled the Angelus Mortis and directed our hands.
And you were successful in these hunts?
Very. I killed thousands of vampires, ghouls, and other monsters. My success eventually led me to work directly under the Giosto. Everything changed when a mysterious man became the Giosto's aide.
This mysterious man, what can you tell me about him?
No one knew who he was or where he came from, but for some reason, none of us questioned his presence. Over the next year, the Vatican began to change. They started neglecting monster threats and conducting horrific experiments on the orphans and the creatures we hunted.
Experiments?
Yes, they turned the children into monstrous amalgamations. Vampire, Wendigo, ghoul, werewolf, you name it. All combined into one horrific nightmare. These children either died or went berserk. Those who went berserk were supposed to be killed, but the Giosto, under the mysterious man's influence, stowed them away, and eventually released them on Rome.
What happened after that?
Unparalleled chaos ensued. The monsters were near impossible to kill. Their combined aspects nullified each other's weaknesses, creating immortal killing machines. We tried to stop them, but we were overwhelmed. The Angelus Mortis stood no chance. Anyone who rebelled was branded as a traitor. We're going against the word of God.
How did you respond to this?
Needless to say, I was furious. As humanity was at its twilight, one of the final nights, I snuck into the Vatican to assassinate the Giosto I fought my way to his chamber, killed his guards, and ended his life with my own hands. The light faded from the Gyosto's eyes, and it was then that I realized something was wrong. It felt like a spell had been lifted from my mind, and I asked the question that we all should have asked at the very beginning. Who is the aide?
And the mysterious man?
After slaying the Gyosto, the mysterious man entered the room, clapping his hands, clearly drawing some entertainment from this sick game he's playing. I attacked him in a rage, stabbing a dagger through his heart and blowing his brains out with my flintlock. But my efforts were futile. His body blinked back to normal, as if he was never injured. He placed a hand on my head, and I felt my bones and blood boil. Something terrible happened to my body, resulting in what I am today. When the pain subsided, my senses were heightened, and my speed and strength improved. I used it to lunge at the bastard, but he snapped his fingers and transported me to the dead world.
By dead world you mean Reality-Y-1? How did you survive there?
I hunted the creatures within the dead world, trying to find that bastard and exact my revenge. Occasionally, I found other humans and helped them survive. But even if they were not killed by the monstrosities of that world, I would eventually outlive them, as I am a creature that cannot die.
Do you believe killing the reality warper will end your curse?
Yes, I believe that his blood is the key, just as a vampire's blood can create one of their kind. Consuming his blood will end my cursed existence.
Thank you for sharing your story, Y-22. We'll continue our efforts to assist you, as long as our goals are aligned.
I appreciate it, Doctor. Every day is a reminder of what was lost, but I won't stop until I find him and end him, just as he ended my world.
SCP-Y-022 is interviewed by Dr. Harding on a weekly basis, so that she may continue to flesh out the full details of what happened to the original world of SCP-Y-022 and understand the nature of these nightmarish amalgamations of monsters that appear to originate from his world as well. We have only come across these anomalies once in our time exploring Provisional Reality-Y-1, but according to reports from MTF Zeta-0 members, they were quite a handful to deal with. SCP-Y-022, designated as Daywalker, was discovered within Provisional Reality-Y-1 during an exploratory mission conducted by Mobile Task Force Zeta-0, Bad Bunch. The mission aimed to map and investigate anomalous occurrences within Provisional Reality-Y-1, a dimension characterized by extreme instability and frequent reality warps. During an expedition into the central region of Provisional Reality-Y-1, MTF Zeta-0 encountered a ruined cityscape, eerily reminiscent of ancient Rome, but overlaid with modern decay and destruction. The team observed signs of recent activity, including tracks and remnants of skirmishes with unknown entities. While surveying the area, operatives detected anomalous readings consistent with a humanoid presence. As the team advanced through the ruins, they came upon SCP-Y-022, engaged in combat with a group of hostile entities resembling amalgamated night creatures. Despite his evident supernatural abilities, he appeared exhausted and severely wounded. Utilizing their advanced containment equipment, MTF Zeta-0 neutralized the hostile entities and established contact with Daywalker. After securing the area, MTF Zeta-0 initiated communication with SCP-Y-022. Despite displaying signs of extreme wariness, he identified himself using his maiden name and explained his presence in Provisional Reality-Y-1. He recounted his history as a former member of the Vatican's secretive Angelus Mortis group and his transformation into a reverse vampire by a mysterious reality warper. Understanding the potential threat and value of SCP-Y-022, MTF Zeta-0 proceeded with caution. He was cooperative, but insisted on assisting in the defense against remaining hostile entities. Over the next several hours, he aided the task force in neutralizing additional threats within the immediate vicinity. demonstrating his abilities and knowledge of the anomalous environment. With the area secured, SCP-Y-022 agreed to accompany MTF Zeta-0 back to Site Y-1 for further evaluation and containment. He was transported using specialized containment protocols designed to mitigate his potential threat. Upon arrival at Site Y-1, Daywalker was placed in a temporary containment cell for initial assessment. Comprehensive medical and psychological evaluations were conducted to understand the extent of SCP-Y-022's anomalous properties and mental state. Researchers noted his unique physiology, particularly his state of perpetual cellular decay and regeneration, as well as his intense desire to locate and destroy the reality warper responsible for his transformation. Experiment Log Y-02279. Date: July 22, 2000. Subject: D5687. Objective: to determine if SCP-Y-022 can sire other vampires using the traditional method of feeding a human SCP-Y-022's blood. Procedure: D5687 was secured in a reinforced testing chamber equipped with surveillance cameras and monitoring equipment. SCP-Y-022 was instructed to provide a small amount of his blood. The blood was collected using a sterile syringe. The collected blood was administered orally to D5687 under controlled conditions. D5687 was observed for immediate reactions and monitored continuously. 0 to 6 hours post-ingestion, D5687 experienced intense pain immediately after ingestion, displaying symptoms consistent with severe gastrointestinal distress. Subject fell into a comatose state within 30 minutes, showing no response to external stimuli. 6 to 24 hours post-ingestion. Vital signs of D5687 remained stable but showed significant deviations from baseline, including increased heart rate and elevated body temperature. Subject exhibited rapid cellular regeneration, visible through accelerated healing of minor injuries inflicted prior to the test. 24 to 48 hours post-ingestion. D5687 regained consciousness at approximately 27 hours post-ingestion. Initial observations indicated enhanced physical capabilities, including increased strength, speed, and sensory acuity. Subject displayed heightened sensitivity to light, though not to the same extent as SCP-Y-022. Psychological evaluations indicated heightened aggression and reduced cognitive function. Subject became increasingly irritable and uncooperative. 48 to 72 hours post-ingestion, subject's behavior became increasingly erratic and violent. D5687 exhibited signs of severe psychological distress and primal aggression. Efforts to calm and communicate with D5687 were unsuccessful. Subject became completely feral, attacking personnel and attempting to breach containment. Beyond 72 hours post-ingestion. Due to the immediate threat posed by D5687, Site Command authorized the neutralization of the subject. D5687 was terminated by security personnel using standard lethal force. Conclusion: the experiment revealed that while ingestion of SCP-Y-022's blood temporarily granted D5687 enhanced physical capabilities similar to SCP-Y-022's Daywalker traits, it ultimately led to severe psychological degradation and uncontrollable aggression. The subject's transformation into a feral state necessitated termination to ensure the safety of site personnel. SCP-Y-022 expressed significant distress upon learning the results of the experiment. He indicated strong reluctance to participate in any further testing related to the potential siring of other vampires. Dr. Eleanor Harding recommended a moratorium on similar experiments until a deeper understanding of SCP-Y-022's blood and its effects can be established. Further research into the underlying mechanisms of the transformation and its long-term effects is necessary before any additional testing is considered. SCP-Y-022 has been provided with a detailed report of the test results and has been informed of the decision to halt further blood siring experiments. SCP-Y-022's cooperation and psychological well-being remain a priority in ongoing containment and research efforts. Incident Report Y-022-2 Date July 24, 2000. Summary: at approximately 0300 hours, Site Y-1 security personnel observed an unauthorized individual, later identified as janitorial personnel Frank Henderson, attempting to communicate with SCP-Y-022. Initial review of security footage revealed Henderson under the control of an SCP-Y-3 instance. The individual approached SCP-Y-022's containment chamber and solicited the anomaly's attention through prolonged eye contact, initiating SCP-Y-022's charm effect. Upon making eye contact with SCP-Y-022, Henderson commanded him to break out of containment. SCP-Y-022, under the influence of the charm effect, complied and approached the sealed door of his containment chamber. He then utilized an ability to transform into mist, which we later discovered that even SCP-Y-022 didn't know was possible, slipping through the thin cracks of his containment cell doorframe and reforming on the other side. Under Henderson's charmed orders, SCP-Y-022 proceeded to the containment chamber of the SCP-Y-3 instance. SCP-Y-022, using his enhanced strength, destroyed the reinforced door, gaining entry to the SCP-Y-3's chamber. Upon entry, the SCP-Y-3 attempted to establish control over SCP-Y-022 by maintaining eye contact, but the charm effect did not apply to the non-humanoid entity. SCP-Y-022, realizing his actions were no longer under Henderson's control, began to act independently. In a violent display of power, SCP-Y-022 grabbed the destroyed steel door and used it to beat the SCP-Y-3 instance to death. Once the SCP-Y-3 instance was neutralized, SCP-Y-022 restrained Henderson until security personnel arrived. Henderson was then taken into Site Y-1 custody for psychological evaluation. SCP-Y-022 was escorted back to his containment chamber without further incident. Incident Y-022-6 Date July 31, 2000. Summary: a containment breach alarm was triggered when SCP-Y-022 spontaneously displayed an unusual behavior pattern, resulting in damage to his containment cell. At approximately 0230 hours, SCP-Y-022 began to exhibit signs of agitation and restlessness. Without any apparent external stimulus, SCP-Y-022 started to repeatedly strike the walls of his containment chamber with superhuman strength, causing structural damage. Security footage shows SCP-Y-022 muttering phrases in Latin, seemingly in a trance-like state. Efforts to communicate and calm SCP-Y-022 via intercom were unsuccessful. SCP-Y-022 eventually breached the inner wall of his containment chamber, but was intercepted by the secondary reinforced steel barrier. SCP-Y-022 began to vomit blood violently, before losing his balance and falling over, ceasing his Latin mutterings. Containment personnel, equipped with UV lamps, entered the chamber and managed to subdue SCP-Y-022 with non-lethal force. SCP-Y-022 returned to a calm state shortly after, expressing confusion and claiming no memory of the event. It's unknown as to whether this was an anomalous property pertaining to his unusual form, or if this was an instance of acute PTSD brought on from his relatively traumatic past. More research into what caused this episode is underway and will be thoroughly explored for the sake of our future cooperation with SCP-Y-022. Moving forward, Site Y-1 will be focusing on a collaborative relationship with Daywalker. SCP-Y-022's enhanced sensory capabilities provide him with significant advantages in tracking, combat, and survival within Provisional Reality-Y-1. These abilities, combined with his extensive training and experience as a former member of Angelus Mortis, make SCP-Y-022 a formidable asset in the containment and research of anomalous entities. Further research is ongoing to fully understand the extent of his sensory enhancements and to explore potential applications for these abilities in containment protocols and field operations. The details of SCP-Y-022's story could serve as a major piece of information pertaining to SCP-Y-1 and Provisional Reality-Y-1, as it adds another piece to one of the many theories that surround Provisional Reality-Y-1's nature. One of the leading theories that has been passed around the SCP Foundation is that Provisional Reality-Y-1 may in fact be a crossroads dimension, linking any number of realities in which major anomalous control forces, such as SCP-Y-022's Angelus Mortis, or the comparable SCP Foundation within our own reality, have been rendered defunct, resulting in total collapse of the reality. This is, of course, just one of many theories. However, if this theory is correct, then it would be a fair assumption to say that SCP-Y-1 appearing within our own reality goes past the point of simply being a bad omen. The nature of the reality warper mentioned by SCP-Y-022 is still a mystery. Although we have learned through this information that Provisional Reality-Y-1 is known of and potentially used by other persons or parties, further complicating the potential threats within an already tumultuous reality. This is Director Knightley, signing off on another report at Site Y1. I hope you'll consider subscribing to stay up to date with our findings. I eagerly look forward to having your audience in future reports.